Good morning, you're welcome to the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. My name is Rome Paulson.
And I am Nyamgul Agaji. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and bless the Lord that He has kept us alive through this moment.
That's right. Today is the 29th of April 2025, and in fact, it is known as Make-A-Wish Day. So obviously it was brought by the foundation, Make-A-Wish, the foundation that, help children and whatnot. And I think it's been around since 2010. But in as much as it's children that make wishes and whatnot, I think it's still a day to just think about your life and think about what you want and make those plans and goals. And you know how the Bible would say it, cast your bread upon the many waters and it will come back to you. So today you should be making a wish. Think about something that you want.
My wish will be said loud and clear that Africa should have good leaders. Leaders who think about the people, leaders who have consciences, leaders who are not selfish, leaders who can make the people really great the way God created us to be great. And that's my earnest wish, because when that one is fulfilled, I think every other thing works. Fall in place.
Right.
So
I think that's the same for me, transformational leaders and leaders with integrity. I think that's something that we're lacking in Nigeria or in Africa, because there's a reason why everything is happening at this, different African countries kind of replicate the same thing. So it's something that definitely we need to be able to weed out. So if we can start to take up space, especially when it comes to voting our leaders, in as much as a lot of people will tell you that our leaders are not voted, most times they're usually selected or maybe given a court judgment and whatnot. But it's time for us to start making that consciousness, that awareness, and the type of people that we even vote in, starting from the primaries, it would reflect at the end of the day. So if we can have leaders that have integrity, leaders with values, leaders that are transformational, especially
with sense. Because as we speak right now, let me just give you an example, a quick one now. In Kenya, there's a member of parliament who has just given bursary awards of 3 million Kenyan shillings, but he rented a tent of 5 million Kenyan shillings. So just imagine, what if he did it in an open field and gave this bursary worth 8 million instead of renting a canopy of 5 million to give 3 million
it makes no sense.
It doesn't make
so there's a lot of wastage that is happening as well. And obviously, if you have a leader that has sense, that is a transformational leader, things will start to work better. Anyways, on today's breakfast, we'll be looking at several hot topics, one of which is federal government orders WAEC NECO to begin full CBT by 2026. That's a computer-based examination. And much later in the show, we'll be discussing the fact that World Bank warns poverty may rise in Nigeria despite growth focus. We'll also be taking global stories that has made it to the front pages of our national dailies. But right now, let's move over to our top trending stories. And this first one says U.S. identifies corruption as a major barrier to Nigeria trade. So the United States government has highlighted corruption as the main obstacle to trade and investment in Nigeria. According to the 2025 National Trade Estimate Report on Foreign Trade Barriers released by the Office of the United States Trade Representative, corruption and a lack of transparency in Nigeria's tender processes are a major concern for the U.S. companies. It noted that American firms often face inappropriate demands for facilitative payments during their daily operations, and efforts to tackle corruption are undermined by the interministerial conflicts and political interference. Additionally, the capacity of Nigeria's justice system to effectively prosecute and sentence corruption cases remains questionable. The report also criticized Nigeria for its persistent delays in approving import permits for American agricultural products, describing it as a long-standing issue that restricts U.S. access to the Nigerian market. Since 2019, multiple requests have been made to negotiate import permits for various categories of U.S. food and agricultural exports, yet Nigeria has been slow to act. The U.S. authorities emphasize that these delays continue despite numerous attempts to engage Nigerian officials to secure market access for American goods. Furthermore, the report pointed out that Nigeria inconsistently applies technical regulations and sanitary and phytosanitary standards, causing confusion among exporters. It also mentioned that Nigeria imposes extremely high tariffs, combining duties and fees exceeding 50% on 79 tariff lines, with 17 of these reaching or exceeding 70% limit set by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Such trade practices, the report concluded, create significant barriers for U.S. businesses seeking to operate in Nigeria. This is something that I've said time and time again, that if we're looking for foreign investors and we do not have our house in order, if you've not, done the necessary things, ensure that your economy is thriving and you have a good business environment for businesses to want to come in, I'm sorry, I don't think they would want to come in, because what are the incentives? What are the things that you're making them say, you know what, I want to come and invest? Fine, they say that Africa has, in fact, in Nigeria is one of Africa's largest economy. But in as much as we hear that and it's on paper, as an investor, I'm thinking of investor confidence. I'm thinking that if I bring my money here, I hope I would not have so many barriers, so many limitations for me to make my money back, because that's the reason why I'm investing in the first place. And if we're being honest, corruption is a thing. I know that the former president, Buhari, his administration said they were going to fight corruption and whatnot, but I don't know how that really went. And right now, it's almost like it's a daily.
You don't know. What do you mean you don't know? It's
almost like it's a daily activity, because I'll tell you what. My dad is in, construction, petrochemicals, and, he does a lot of businesses with the government. They would even tell you that you have to maybe give them money even before they give you the contract.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And the moment you don't do that, you lose it. So for someone with integrity, there's so many things. It's not like you don't have the capabilities. It's not like you don't have the capacity to do it, but you cannot do it because there's certain limitations. You can do it. But these people will tell you that if you're not going to give me money, and they're not waiting till the end of the job, right?
Give them up front.
You have to give them up front. And why am I paying you for a job that I'm going to do for you? And how much am I even going to make? A lot of times, these monies can be up to 20, 30%. So what's my profit? That's the reason why you see that we keep hiking. They award a project. That project is definitely not worth that amount. There's so many palms that needs to be greased over and over again. So I can totally understand what this report is saying, because you're going there, is a daily thing, and they're telling you that you need to just give us something first. Water the ground. That's how they say it.
First off, I think Nigeria is a very big market, maybe the biggest market in Africa. I don't know if it is still the biggest economy, because it used to be the largest economy, but I'm not sure it's that
it's
anymore.
still, but one of them.
We still have the biggest market for anything that is coming. Corruption has eaten so deep. There's corruption in every country.
Let's be honest.
Doubt about that.
Yes.
But when the corruption is so brazen that people do not fear the consequences, then it gets out of hand. The problem of Nigeria is people not fearing consequences for bad behavior. That is just it. Because when you're doing it anywhere else, you know that there's a risk, and if you're caught, so you'll be doing it piecemeal. Here, you can do anything you like.
It has been normalized,
All you need to do is till, let's say, 100 billion, settle with 20 billion, and you have 80 billion in your account.
Do the math.
As simple as that. That's what is killing us in this country, unless the government sits up. Because sometimes, let's say in the Buhari administration, which you mentioned, they said they had something about the ease of doing business in Nigeria. They must have put a lot of things, good things on paper that should make businesses work. Businesses to be given incentives to work in Nigeria. But you know what? The human factor will thwart that effort. So, okay, for instance, it's the Nigerian economy, which has become a palliative economy. Now, palliatives are sent to a particular place. Somebody corners the palliatives, rebats them.
Look at what happened in the humanitarian affairs ministry as well.
It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I think we really need to take out corruption, to be honest. Fine, like you said, in every country there is a level of corruption.
Let there just be consequences for bad behavior.
And because another thing that was cited in the report was the fact that the judicial system isn't even doing as much. Because even if you go to courts, even some of these judges take bribes. Let's be honest.
They're compromised.
Yeah,
now we know in Nigeria that the three arms of government, as they have been calling, is
They're not independent. They're not independent of each other.
The judiciary is being compromised to a great extent. I'm not saying that all the judges are bad. Some of them are exceptionally good.
Even in America, if you look at, their police force, you hear of bad cops. It's always like that. Where there are good people, some of them will decide that they want to be coconut heads and they'll be bad people. So it is normal, but we don't want the percentage, to be more than the good. We want a lot of judges, in fact, a lot of Nigerians, humans first, to have that level of integrity to say there are certain things that I cannot do. I'm not going to go and I think of having to bribe somebody, or I'm looking to take bribes just because I want to award you a contract, just because I want to give you a job. Are you not being paid in your own job? You that you're supposed to sign, are you not being paid?
That's why the road from Lagos to Calabar is more expensive than the road from Cape Town in South Africa to Egypt, Cairo.
Yeah, I know.
From end to end of Africa, it's cheaper by 10 times, by the way.
Interesting. Yeah, so another top trending story we have this morning is Sanwo-Olu slams Peter Obi over poverty comments. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has criticized Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, claiming he lacks the moral right to speak on poverty issues in Nigeria. In a statement titled Factual Addressing Mr. Peter Obi's Criticism of Nigeria at Johns Hopkins University, Sanwo-Olu accused Obi of contributing to rising poverty during his tenure as Anambra State Governor. The backlash follows Obi's speech at Johns Hopkins University, where he compared Nigeria unfavorably with China and Vietnam, emphasizing the failure of political leadership in prioritizing developmental sectors like education and health. Sanwo-Olu rebuked Obi for what he described as demarketing Nigeria on an international platform, arguing that patriotic leaders should project a positive image of their country abroad. He noted that despite Obi's criticism of Nigeria's current leadership, Obi himself failed to build schools, hospitals, or provide sustainable credit facilities while in office. Sanwo-Olu's praised President Bola Tinubu's efforts in contrast, highlighting Tinubu's record of building schools, creating student loan programs, and empowering small businesses both as Lagos State Governor and as now President. Backing his argument with statistics, Sanwo-Olu pointed out that poverty in Anambra State rose significantly under Obi's administration from 41.4% to 53.7%, while Obi's successor, Willie Obiano, managed to reduce it drastically. He concluded that Obi's governance record disqualifies him from making sweeping criticism about poverty in Nigeria, and insisted that Tinubu, based on his track record, is better positioned to combat poverty at the national level.
That statement, I'm very sorry, Governor Sanwo-Olu, was very childish, because, well, it also shows how our thinking faculty is in Nigeria. The Obi that didn't build schools moved his state from almost the lowest in educational ranking to the first position. So he didn't need schools to make that happen.
There were already schools that he was working.
Yes. So the fact that our people just think that to get the credit for anything is the best thing they can do is what beats me. That's why they cannot plan ahead, because everybody wants to do things and put his name to it. And that is all. You build schools that are not working. That's why they're still talking about universities today when the existing ones are not being funded. Okay, how was the rate of maternal deaths, for instance, in Anambra State when Obi was there? If you can use that figure, these are the things that you can use to judge how much health facilities were taken care of and all that. And you're talking about poverty. So what parameters did you use to judge that government? That's the government that had money to do the things that they were supposed to do and left so much more in the coffers of government. That has never happened in Nigeria. And you're saying that was the
case. So I think this is just
so what parameters did you use?
I think this is just a clear case of, celebrating mediocrity. So it's almost like
it annoys me when somebody talks about the fact.
You're talking about this. You didn't do this.
Someone has gone out to demarket Nigeria. How? The last report we did was from America. There was no Nigerian that contributed to that.
Yeah, you think they don't know that?
They know this. They are on social media. They are in Nigeria. They see it.
Yeah. They
have had contact with Nigerians, and you're telling us that we're demarketing it. So we need to have more people that will say the truth when they go out, so that we will sell Nigeria as a place where they still have people who are honest, because they already know this.
So the thing is, looking at the root cause of the matter, instead of having to point fingers and say, oh, you did not do this, or this person is doing that, what is the root cause of the matter? And let's be honest, poverty is even the World Bank is talking about it, right? So if we're saying that we want to eradicate poverty, it has to be all hands on deck. It has to be everybody trying to make it work. You know, if you have better ideas, why not? Not just saying that, you know what, you're demarketing Nigeria. It is what it is. Everybody knows what it is. It's just a lack of
ideas that is killing our people, you know. Because if I have a superior argument, I will just come with statistics and say, okay, this is what we are doing. This thing you said in America, this is the correct argument, this is the correct statistics. You're now telling me about what happened in 2000 and something. In 2025 that we are complaining about a particular
as of
thing.
right now.
So if Obasanjo comes now and says, this thing, X, Y, Z is not going well, you will say in your administration you did this. What if he learnt his lesson after that and he's in the place to correct it? So I have to stay there and close my mouth because I didn't do well in my time.
It's ridiculous.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, let's take one final top trending story. It says federal government warns Nigerians against rising cyber slavery menace. The federal government has issued a serious warning to Nigerians about the growing threats of cyber slavery, a modern form of human trafficking that is increasingly targeting young people. In a statement by Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Tuga, the government expressed concerns over the alarming number of youths lured abroad with fake job offers, particularly in the crypto industry, only to be forced into cybercrime operations under brutal and inhumane conditions. Victims are reportedly trapped in a 419 cyber scam factories where they are coerced into sending thousands of fraudulent communications globally. The ministry highlighted a recent rescue operation in Accra, Ghana, where several Nigerians were freed from such abusive conditions. It described the incident as a stark reminder of the severe exploitations tied to the cybercrime syndicates and stressed the urgent need to combat these multi-billion-dollar networks. The government has warned that these criminal groups often lure victims with promises of easy income or remote opportunities, work opportunities abroad, only to enslave them in scam operations upon arrival. In its response, the government urged Nigerian youths and their families to thoroughly verify any employment offers, especially those overseas travel or cryptocurrency work. Citizens were encouraged to report suspicious cases to the authorities for swift action, and the Foreign Affairs Ministry assured that it is working closely with international partners to dismantle the networks, rescue more victims, and bring the perpetrators to justice, reaffirming its commitment to safeguarding Nigerians at home and abroad.
That speaks for itself, and I just want to call on the government to create channels where people can verify all these things.
Yes.
It's not enough to just tell us that.
You should verify. How do I do that?
Where. So government should have these agencies and make the awareness reach everybody, because now it's not good enough, because there are people who are still being lured because they don't have this information. So make sure. Let our national
and just even make sure that the system here works. Yes. Because if the system was working, I always say it, I don't think anybody wants to leave their home, you know, if everything is great here. The reason why they're moving is because, you know, they're looking for greener pastures. So obviously we need the agencies. And
our government has made it look
putting the push factors.
Like everywhere else is greener, because better. They themselves want to go to the greener places.
They go there for all of their medical checks. Anyways, this is how much you can take on the top trending stories. We'll go on a short break. We'll look at the weather report, and when we return, we'll be taking the paper review. So please stay with us.